Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
All right, thanks a lot, Ken, and thank you for tuning into the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Rich Walsh alongside the Paul Zeise, and we're taking your phone calls tonight, so get online. We have a bunch of callers right now, not a lot of spots, so you better call right now. 412-575-2600 is the number. We're going to be talking about the Steelers, their issues right now heading into Cincinnati tomorrow. The team leaves tomorrow for Cincinnati. They've won 11 straight games against the Bengals. Could this be the game where that streak comes to an end, Paul? What do you think? I mean, do they have too many distractions this week? You know, I've been saying all week that the Steelers always lose a bad game. They always lose to an inferior opponent. They always lose to a team that they shouldn't lose to under Mike Tomlin. Is this that loss for this year?
No.
You don't think?
I don't think so. I think they're.
I don't either. But
I think they'll win the game. I think they'll go out there. It's probably not going to be pretty. It's probably not going to, be a game that lights the world on fire. But the Bengals are really, really bad. They're missing some really key players. This is a team, the Steelers, that despite everything we say about last week's loss and how bad they played, if they win this game and the Raiders lose to the Jets, the Steelers will be in the second wild card spot. So, to me, they're not going to lose this game. They're not going to go out there and lose. They're not going to get beat by the Bengals. The Bengals, are just terrible. The Steelers just have to make sure. The big thing they cannot do is turn the ball over like they did last week. If they don't turn it over, they'll be fine. Yeah,
4 turnovers, 4 interceptions for Mason Rudolph last week. That doesn't win too many games.
Right, they're killers.
Yeah.
And so,
especially at the end.
Right.
I mean, they had a chance to actually get back in the game, tie the game, and he threw that pick right over the middle.
Yeah, I mean, that's, again, there was some part of it was he was getting hit a lot. He was getting knocked around a lot. He was, it wasn't just, but he didn't play well. He's got to play a lot better.
Yeah. All right, so there's no question. I mean, I think the offense was the lack of offense was overshadowed by what happened in the last 8 seconds with the fight and everything. Can that be a distraction at all? Or, I mean, you think all the things that happened with the fight, under investigation, racial slur, could that potentially cause any kind of distraction in the Steelers locker room? That's the only thing that I'm worried about. I think if it wasn't for that, they're going to win this game no matter what.
I think the losing, Marquise Pouncey is probably the biggest issue that comes out of that.
And Juju Smith-Schuster, James Conner.
Yeah, Juju Smith-Schuster got hurt and Conner, but I'm talking about from the fight. The biggest thing is you lose Marquise Pouncey. I will say this. I think this whole racial slur nonsense is really rattled, from everything I've understood about Mason Rudolph and the way he's handled it. And, the other day when people were at practice, I guess is when it all came out, and he was walking off the field, then he was in the cafeteria. That's the concern I would have is it going to rattle him to the point where he can't even, play at a functional level because he's so.
He's worried about it. He's thinking about it.
I mean, because the bottom line is, that's where we're at in this country right now. Really. Anybody can throw that accusation or any accusation like that out there, right? Doesn't matter if it's true or not. There's a segment of the population that's going to believe it. And you look at Mason Rudolph now, that poor kid, for the rest of his career is going to be, there's going to be a segment of people that are going to label him a racist. He's in a league full of 75% black players, you know what I mean? Yeah. And there's a segment of them that now think he's a racist. And so, that's the problem I have with the whole situation. And you look at him, and I think that he understands that. I think he's a smart guy.
Yeah.
He seems like he understands the whole thing. But again, when you throw that accusation at somebody, or any accusation, right? When you throw it out there, what's Mason Rudolph, what can he really say to defend himself other than, no, I didn't say it? And then it becomes, well, he said. People are going to believe what they want to believe. Right now, if you live in Northeast Ohio and you're a Browns fan, who do you believe? If you're a certain segment of the quote-unquote woke media or whatever the hell you want to call them, who do you believe? And even though the NFL investigated it and said there's nothing to it.
Yeah.
And all the players that were around it said they didn't hear it. And the referee that was there, standing there, he didn't hear it. Doesn't matter. There's a segment of people that will believe it. So I think that's the thing you got to watch is it in his head?
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. Now, I'm in Mason Rudolph's corner here. I don't think he said it. I don't think he's that type of guy. And mainly why I believe that is I know him a little bit, but also if he did say something like that, wouldn't that have come out? I was in the locker room after the game. I was right there. Wouldn't that have been the first thing that was said? Wouldn't the Browns have accused him at that point or someone on that team? But no one said anything. And also, Myles Garrett came out and apologized to him. Would you apologize to someone that did that to you?
Well, and here's the thing. I don't think, honestly, it's not about, well, you know, Mason Rudolph and he wouldn't do this or he doesn't seem like that kind of kid. You never know. You don't know about who, you know, you just really don't know. Anybody's capable of anything. I look at the evidence, and the evidence overwhelmingly suggests he did not say that or did not use a racial slur. And so to me, you know,
so wouldn't you conclude at the end of the game,
my point
what
is,
happened after the game that Rudolph didn't say anything?
That's
because
what I said. He did.
Yeah.
All of the evidence we've seen in the last week, it's overwhelming that he did not say that. It has nothing to do with whether or not I believe him or not.
Yeah.
I look at the evidence.
Yeah. All right, we got to take a break. We're going to take more of your phone calls. 412-575-2600 is the number. We're also going to talk about why Paul Zeise is so fired up right now. That's all when we come back in a couple minutes.
Yeah, let's do that.
The Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call is brought to you by Ireland Contracting, celebrating 25 years as Pittsburgh's #1 home exterior expert in roofing, siding, windows, and gutters, where honesty and integrity still matter.